Subscribe to all the episodes. Make sure you keep yourself up to date with what's going on, which is really important. With certainly the TWP-TV, and don't forget as well, you can also put these into your off the job hours. So if you go into your timesheet in your one file, you'll be able to click on and obviously add the time you spent on here into your off the job hours. So that just accounts to more of that, which again is all progress for you towards your apprenticeship. So what me and Darren are going to talk about, as we said, is reflective accounts, and we're going to particularly look at first aid today. And then Darren, is it tomorrow, Darren, or Wednesday? You're doing safeguarding?
Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and Duncan's doing the 9:30, which is the level 2 reflective account.
Brilliant stuff. So this will give you over the next couple of days some really good information that you should really be noting down. And if I think George has spoken to some of his learners, and if you do get the opportunity to take notes or even start to work on your reflective account now for first aid and safeguarding tomorrow as well, and start to give yourself some ideas of what you need to be putting in to reach that marked distinction. So I'm just going to take you on that review one that Duncan, Darren and myself did last week. What's important content that should be out there? So if I bring up the reflective account that we worked on last week. So this is for the level 3 community support and health officer reflective account 1. We're just going to talk through this and what we want you to be thinking about in here. So as Darren alluded to last week or the week before, for each of these scenarios or questions, you're looking for approximately 500 words, and that's really important. One thing certainly as tutors, when we look at these reflective accounts, we do look at the content depth. So if it looks straight away, you've only put a couple of hundred words in there, you're automatically going to be getting this work back. So when it says approximately 500 words, make sure you are putting approximately 500 words. I think me and Darren looked at one, was it last week, Darren, or the week before? I can't remember now, but we looked at one and there was nowhere near enough content in there, was there, to reach the 500 word target?
No, there wasn't, no.
And that just gives us an automatic red flag of going, okay, so what have they got in here? It's not reaching that, so it can't be a pass, never mind a distinction, if you're not even going to meet that criteria. So it's important, as always, that you read what is required in each of these scenarios. You'll then have a drop down, you have a list of different scenarios on the first aid. We selected twisted ankle. I think there was bumped head, there was grazed knees, there was somebody being vomiting as well. So we suggest you pick a scenario that you have actually dealt with yourself. This will make life a lot easier. Don't just pick one because you think it might be easy, because again, when we're looking at it and reading it and we're going, well, actually, that doesn't fit that criteria. And I think Duncan had one 3 weeks ago where for the nosebleed. So it just goes to prove that you really must have some knowledge or hopefully some experience in what you're doing. Don't just think you can put anything in there, because we will be checking is the right procedure, is the right thing that you're doing. So pick the scenario that is going to be most applicable to you and that hopefully that you've had experience in. Now explain, it says, and follow or insert a range of evidence that backs up your statements. So this is really important. What happened? And we've put here, make sure it's a clear description of the incident. Where did it happen? Did it happen in school hall? Did it happen on the playground? Did it happen on the field? What sort of equipment was being used? What was the environment like? Actually, did they happen from walking from the classroom to the environment that you're going to be doing the activity? So be really, really clear, where did it happen? And when did it happen? Was it first thing in the morning? Was it straight after lunch? Was it mid-morning? Was it halfway through your activity? Was it the beginning? Was it the end of your activity? So where and when did it happen? And really be clear on the content there. Don't just put, in the school hall, it was 10:35, he fell over and twisted his ankle. You won't get a pass for that. You really won't. Be really, really clear in what it says. So we're in the school hall. I'd done a risk assessment, a visual one prior to that, and obviously this school we've been using for a number of times. So there was a risk assessment taken by a senior activity professional before doing this activity. I've worked with this school a number of times, so I was aware of the environment, and I also did a visual check before I came in. The activity that I was doing, I made sure it was age appropriate for the children. The equipment was safe, and there was for the area that was working in, it was large enough to accommodate the activity and the children within there. That gives you a really clear description of what was going on before you even get into the evidence of what actually happened. How it happened, let's be honest, you don't always see everything all the time, but you might want to ask some questions. But that's, again, it's about good coaching position. Where were you standing? If you're stood right in the middle of the activity with your back to a lot of the children, you're not going to see what's going on. So make sure you take a good coaching position when you're doing activities. Make sure you get a view of everybody and see what's going on. But also, when that happens, how did it happen? Were they running? Did they trip? Did they fall into something? Did they trip over their shoelace? Was there something wet on the floor that wasn't there before when you were doing it? So again, think about that whole scenario. Don't just put he tripped over while running around. What was preceding that instance? What activity were you doing when they were running around? So put all that detail in. Who was involved? Were they running around on their own? Were they playing some invasion game? Were they playing a net and war game? Were they up in buddies? Were they in teams? So who was involved in that incident when they were doing it? Time and date, as I said before, when it happened, but also what time and the date of when it happened. So really, again, good information of what's going on, because if this incident keeps happening on a regular basis and it keeps coming through that at 10:35 on a Tuesday when you're doing activities in school hall, somebody keeps twisting their ankles, then obviously you need to pick that up. But more importantly, there needs to be a review of the activity or your supervision, or maybe the child. Has the child actually got good multi-skills? Balance coordination, is that there? Is it something that needs to be picked up and progressed on? So it's all good evidence to progress through. What were you doing? So going back to my point, were you talking to somebody else? Were you dealing with another incident? Were you picking up equipment? Did you have your back to them? Hopefully you weren't, but you shouldn't be. Were you on your mobile phone? What was going on? Were you writing something else down on another form? Were you talking to a teacher or a TA at the time? So be really, really clear what exactly were you doing at that time. And again, it should be used as a reflection of progress for you, maybe to improve what you do if needs be. So think about all of those details. And I think, Darren, if you want to jump in on this one, when you even just got that clear description, you're probably in a good couple of hundred words already, wouldn't you think so, Darren? He's gone. That's what happens when you talk to tutors, your co-workers. They just vanish to get bored of you. So we'll carry on. What did you do? So think about, again, what actions did you take? Did you stop the activity immediately? Or did you take the child to one side? Were you able to treat the child without stopping the activity? Was there another activity professional with you to help that? So if you've got a class of 30 plus and one of them's hurt, what about the other 29? How do you make sure you supervise those? Those are the sort of things you need to put into this first aid form, because it's all important. Because if you think about it, if you're dealing with one person and 29 children still running around, there is a danger there that other incidents could occur. So yeah, think about what you actually did at that point. What action did you take? Hopefully you've worked on your basic first aid. You would know what to do. Did you have to give your lanyard with the badge at the back to another pupil to go to the office to say you needed help and support? Will you be able to deal with it yourself? Was there another TA there that could request, or a teacher that was there that you could request assistance and support with? So think about what happened in that incident. Think about how you dealt with it. Were you calm? Was you panicking? Was you unsure? Is it the first time you dealt with that incident? So yeah, think about all those regarding what did you do. Reporting of the incident. Did you have to put it in an accident book for school? Did you also need to fill out the incident and accident report with Premier documents as well? So, or in other organisations, think about how you reported the incident. Did you report it there and then, while it's still fresh in your mind, while somebody was supervising? Did you wait until the end of the class? Did you wait till the end of the day? Did you do it on your lunch or your break? So where actually did you do the incident, and what did you put in there? What form did they use? What were they looking for? What questions were asked? How did you complete it within that incident form? And what further actions maybe you took? So was there anything else to do? Was it about the equipment? Was it about the floor? Was it about the environment? Was it about the activity? Did you have to review any of that as well? The other thing to bear in mind with all of these is you must embed evidence. So when we talk about your activity, could you embed your actual session plan? Could you embed within your reflective account your first aid box, your first aid kit, picture of it? Could you put a picture of your first aid certificate in there? Could you put a picture of the accident book or a picture of the incident and accident form that you used in there? Obviously, leave it blank. Don't put any details in there about the child that had the incident. But could you put that in there as well? This all supports exactly what you're saying, exactly what elite are looking for as well at the endpoint assessment, showing that you fully understand what you were doing, how you did it, and what you used as well. So embed all of those pictures in there, and proof of documentation, how you did it. Again, one of the things that me, Darren, and Duncan see a lot is that people will just put reams and reams and reams of writing, and they won't embed any supporting evidence of photos or pictures or documents within there as well. So it's really important, because, as I say, that's what elite are looking for. So another one of the questions is, what were the main aims of your actions? So were you trying to keep the child calm? What about the rest of the group? How did you stop that? How did you supervise those? Who did you get to supervise? How did they know what to do? Did you carry on with the session that was given? So did you hand them your session plan? Or did you talk it through? So what did you actually do? Did you do through the maintain the 3 Ps, prevent, preserve, promote? So did you think about that? How did you deal with that? And also any safeguarding issues that might arise. Was there any? Did you consider any as well? And that's, again, one of the points that a lot of people forget about is about safeguarding issues. So was there anything there to be highlighted or reported within that incident? What were the key outcomes? Obviously, you wanted to treat the injury, or did you actually make the environment safe by taking the said child or getting the child taken away safely by a teacher or another member of staff, by using the badge on your lanyard to ask for help? Your record and report the incident. You report the incident. That was obviously another key outcome. These have to be reported. It's really important you do fill out all those necessary documents. Also, you want to make sure the child is safe and comfortable. They're probably in shock. It's one of the things is, they're just in shock of falling over or just hurting themselves. So you got to make sure you've got to calm them down and make sure they're okay. The other thing is it promotes confidence in the school that you can deal with first aid incidents. So one of the key outcomes there is that I am professional in what I do. The company that I work for gives me all the support I need to do my job effectively, and that includes first aid, and that would also include safeguarding and prevent and any other procedures and documents that need to be aligned. So that school will then go, do you know what? We've had these people in for a number of times, and when something does happen, they deal with it very, very professionally, very effectively. and it just makes sure and promotes that actually as a company you are doing the right thing. It also asks what skills do you use. So communication will obviously be a big one. Building a rapport with the school, so they're confident. Again, going back to that, promoting that confidence that you know what you're doing. So how did you build the rapport with the school? Did you say, well, actually, I've done my first aid course. We've got this on the back of the lanyards. That's how we work. So make sure that they feel comfortable in you working in their school. Leadership skills. You would have had these because you're leading or working with a group of children. And then obviously when something happens, an incident happens, you're dealing with that. So you're leading with that leadership skill there. You're taking control. So that's a leadership skill. The soft skills as well, again, as Duncan alluded to last week when you spoke to him, is you know, that communication side of things, that rapport, that how well do we get on with them? Do I show that I'm professional just by walking in and being dressed effectively, looking professionally, and how that works as well? They're all the softer skills that you need to show that school is going to have confidence in you. Obviously, first aid qualification, make sure that's up to date, make sure you review it on a regular basis, make sure you're competent how to deal with one. We have first aid, certainly for some of the company I work for, you do them every 3 years. But if you never use them, then when that point happens, how do you know you're going to be effective in that? So make sure that you are reviewing on a regular basis. Also, you use written skills, filling out the forms as well. ICT skills, you might have to put it onto the system. Or the document might be electronic, you might have to put it out that way. So you'll definitely be using ICT skills, and you will definitely be using organisational skills. So all of these skills will come into play within your reflective account. Make sure you do highlight these when you talk about or will write about these reflective accounts to show what skills you use as well. So it just, again, it will say to us as tutors, yeah, they really understand, they really thought about what they're doing. And also it reflects on that account and to show it's really thorough and meets the requirements of a pass.
Adrian, can I just butt in? As we've just got a handful, if you say, it'd be good if we just check and challenge, really. So, so can we all kind of like take our mutes off, please, on all of them? I'm just going to ask a few questions to probably all of you just to see. So I'll start with Shazab. Can you just, because obviously I've marked your piece of the work. What from the feedback that I've give you, and what Adrian's, what one key aspect do you think you need to put into your piece of work?
Obviously in the first bit you said something about evidence, because in the first part I didn't provide any evidence. So what I did was take pictures of some of my stuff, like I've got my first aid kit and first aid certificate, and I've added that to my reflective account.
Okay, so we've got a bit of evidence there. Okay, Kitty, what about yourself? Thank you, Shazab. Kitty, what key aspects do you think from what have you started to write your reflective account yet? I think Kitty's just gone off. So,
Sure. Yeah.
Rob, can I have you wrote any of your reflective accounts yet? Rob?
Kitty's back on, mate.
Yeah,
Kitty, are you there?
Rob, Kitty, Joe, will you speak to me?
It's like talking to me, mate.
Matty? Harry?
Yes, I'm here, Darren. I'm here.
Thank you.
Harry, you're a saviour.
Matty.
Matty, this is Matty.
All right.
Oh, Matty, you're even bigger.
Matty.
Harry.
So with yourself, I know we just need to so what have you done differently compared to what Adrian's been talking about?
No, I just the thing is I haven't put any evidence in my log, so all the things that you've mentioned, because I was a bit unsure about getting like a copy from the school with the name of the child on. But obviously I don't have to provide that now, so I know what evidence to put in. And I think just a bit more detail I need to put, which Adrian said about like the exact time, what part of the lesson, that kind of thing. I think that's what I'll go back and change now.
Right.
So, yeah,
okay. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Tom?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Cam, thank
cool.
you. Yeah.
Cool. Right. I think I just need to put much more detail to describe the incident, like what happened, where it happened.
No, that's good, because obviously with all these reflective accounts, as Adrian's been discussing, it's like you're painting the picture for us to show us as tutors how able or how you dealt with the situation, what sort of things you can show us to add value. And as Adrian was alluding to, the 500 words in 5 sections, it's only 100 per section, but it's obviously the detail, because we obviously will be going into functional skills, so we'll be checking your spelling, pronunciation and grammar. We'll be coming out with some literacy abbreviations to go through there. So I hope the first sections, you're painting a picture about the description side of it, what happened, what the next bit that Adrian's going to go into is obviously the reflection side of it. And then the third section is more about the impact, but the impact of our standards. So what did you apply? So what kind of knowledge did you go into? What kind of skills did you use? And what type of behaviours? So where do we see the knowledge, skills and behaviours? What one thing did we do in this first unit that will support you to go through our knowledge, skills and behaviours? Can anybody answer that question?
Is it from the scorecards?
Thank you, Sazab. Yeah, excellent, mates. From the scorecard. And then just to finish off with, and Adrian will go through this in more detail, but then at the bottom, just make sure that you have thoroughly filled in the top section, which is you, then the employer, and then if you've got the mentor or somebody at the school that you're working with or whatever. So just make sure that all 3 sections are complete. Is that all right? So, Adrian, are you all right to now crack on? I've got the...
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Thanks for that. I'll be about another 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, you jumping off?
Yeah, I've got a reflective account to do. All right, mate. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Okay, so as Darren said, which is brilliant, just to highlight those intervals, those actions that you need to take. And again, for the people who jumped on and just gave us some support on that, it does sound like he's making a positive effect. These sessions with TWP-TV and helping support everybody what they do. So yeah, we're really pleased that it is making a positive effect. So reflective account, why do you think this particular scenario is important? So this is your role. What was the scenario of reference to the people who were involved? So what was it like for the child on reflecting that? How did they felt? Did you think they felt calm and comfortable after you finished? What were the challenges faced? And how did you overcome them? So again, you can put in here, for instance, we could talk about the challenge of actually, is it the first time you used first aid? Were you comfortable with using first aid? Did you know what the first aid kit was? Where were they in the environment, in the playground, in the field, or in the hall? How did you get to them? Was that a challenge? How did you supervise the other people? Did you know that you need to hand your badge in to get somebody to come over and help you? So how did you face and how did you overcome all of these challenges? So again, break it down. There'll be lots of things in there that you probably haven't even thought about. Just go through it step by step and go, right, where was I? Where were they? Were they crying? Was there loads of children around them? Because that can be also something you need to deal with. That could be a real challenge. Were they crying? Were they upset? Did they want to talk to you? How bad was the incident? How bad was the accident? How are you going to look after the other children that were still going on, and their behaviour and their management skills? So a lot to think about those challenges. There'll be a lot in there for you probably never even thought about as you go through. What do you hope the long-term benefit of the scenario will be? So obviously it'll have an impact on you. You've dealt with it. You probably feel a bit more comfortable how to use it. You probably, it's the first time you might have filled in an instant accident report. You might not know what to do. That could have been a challenge. But also now, long-term benefit is if you've done it, you know how to do it again effectively. What to write, when to write it, who to give it to, how to record it for long-term. The child also, really important long-term benefit for them is they would have gone, actually, I was supported really quickly when I felt upset. I was nervous. I didn't know what was going on. So then they will probably have a better rapport with you if they didn't have one already, to go, I trust you because you looked after me in my time of need and I trust you. The school, most importantly, long-term effect would be this activity professionals come in, they've actually dealt with it really well, and was really pleased with them. They were calm, they were effective, they did everything that was necessary, reported it well, and carried on in a very professional manner. So that school would have a better relationship with you and with the company going forward. So the long-term benefit of that is something that you probably couldn't put down on paper, but it'd be something that school's got in the back of their mind. So again, think about all those scenarios long term. So the last bit is how have you applied your learning to this scenario. What we suggest you do is go back to your scorecard, look at the some of the points that are in there, 1.4, 1.6, whatever it may be. Can you actually link some of those to this scenario? And what we suggest you do is you actually put in there, I use scenario communication or leadership, or my skills with ICT or written, but actually put which knowledge, skills, and behaviour point that was into this document. Okay, so you can then build that picture up. So if you have used that knowledge or skills one, put in there what it was and how you used it. So we can see a reference of that against your scorecard as well. And it just shows again your understanding of this section of using it, learning how you apply to learning this scenario. And it will all link back to the work that you've done within that unit. So unit 1 will all have your knowledge, skills and behaviours in for each criteria, for each task that you've done. So you'll understand that this will then support all of those about how you've got to this point as well. So really important to put those reference points in. And again, for us as tutors, we can clearly see that your understanding of those is.
I think I have shared the whole.
So the last bit, as Darren said, authentication statement, put your name, put your date, put your signature. Okay, this will be when it's a pass or distinction we're looking for. Employer countersigns, and then, as Darren said, an independent witness, somebody from the school who knows you're doing your apprenticeship, or your mentor that's in there as well, and get them to sign. That is then building your first aid reflective account. Is there any questions? If you want to just open your mics up or drop something in the chat box, you're more than welcome. So is there any questions that you've got?
So again, if we can't embed the video, which I'm sure we can embed the video into slides, because you can into PowerPoint.
No.
So it would be a real
Just drop anything in the chat box, or say open up your mics if you've got any questions.
Us be able to do that on.
Brilliant. Let's give you a couple of minutes. If there isn't any questions at all, I won't carry on talking and going over this reflective account, because there'll be one for safeguarding tomorrow as well, which Darren picks up. So you should have great opportunity to maybe add some questions on with that. So, ladies and gents, if you haven't got no questions, everybody's happy with this reflective account, how to fill in a first aid one, and then we'll close the meeting. If you do think of something, then please drop it in the chat box. Obviously, that would be really useful for us, and then we can help and support you. But if you do think of something today about the first aid reflective account, and you think, oh no, I've missed it, I'll be on with Darren tomorrow as well. So you're more than welcome to ask a question there. But otherwise, I shall leave you now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of TWP-TV. I think Cara this afternoon. Mass is on this afternoon at 1:15 with Cara. So if you do need to upskill there, please join Cara this afternoon. And even if you're like a refresher as well, Cara's really good in the ways that she sets out any of the challenges, any of the problems with maths and English. So if you do need a refresher, it's really worth dropping in with Cara. But otherwise, have a great day, and also hope to speak to you soon. Bye-bye all.
To self-audit, which is pretty